The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
So often, parents feel like they're banging their head against a wall when it comes to everyday tasks, shoes, homework, even sitting down for dinner. What if the reason isn't defiance, but something deeper in the nervous system? That's what we're diving into today with my guest, Jessie Townz, who is raising a child with pathological demand avoidance, or PDA. Jessie's honesty, humor, and lived experience brings so much clarity and compassion to a topic that is often misunderstood. I learned a ton from her and had such a fun time swapping real-life stories about parenting kids who just don't fit the mold. So let's grab our drink and let's jump into today's conversation. So Jessie, you are a mum, as well as many other things. You're lots of things. But one of the things you are is a mum to a PDA child. Can you tell me what is PDA? What does that stand for? What does that mean?
Okay, so PDA, I mean, it stands for Pathological Demand Avoidance, which sounds quite psychotic at times. I mean, and the behavior can be quite psychotic. But PDA is a persistent, in the US, they actually rename it the persistent drive for autonomy. So it's when a child or an adult, their nervous system goes into fight, flight, or freeze, like from any demand, any request that they see as a demand. So they go into fight, flight, or freeze, or to fawn. And the pathological bit, because it sounds quite bad, the pathological bit is that it's instilled in the body, like it is a nervous system disability. And they just react very disruptive. They can, or they can be very quiet, but they just cannot, they have a loss of autonomy. So they just can't control that nervous system disability. The amygdala in their brain is constantly in threat mode. So if they feel that something you ask them is a common thing. I always use this example, like, can you put your shoes on? To a neurotypical child, they're quite capable of putting their shoes on, but a child with PDA will find that as a threat. So they can they'll be resistant, they'll get dysregulated. So it's quite it's like a navigating, just constantly trying to work out what level they're on.
Yeah. And this might sound really strange, but I know very little about PDA. So some of these questions you might be like, oh my gosh. So is PDA something that you can grow out of, or is it something you have, like how do adults go through life with?
So you can't grow out of it. It is a nervous system disability. But what the young adults and older teens that I've spoken to is that they've grown into it. The challenge and danger is when they are younger, it's difficult for them to self-regulate their emotions anyway, because there's that age capacity that they are younger, and any child struggles. I don't think you get your full emotional resilience of being able to handle stuff until you're in like the back end of your later teens. So for a child for my son's age, he's 7, it's very, very difficult for them to be able to regulate that and sort of see the woods through the trees, so to speak.
And is it something that can go like stand alone, or is it like often go with, I know how someone always says to me, oh, autism has lots of cousins.
It's a spectrum.
Yeah, it's a spectrum. So like, is it kind of a similar thing, or is it like, this is PDA, this is...
The main problem with PDA, the issue that parents face on a lifetime basis once they have a child that falls within that sort of, not that remit, because that sounds very officey, but within this spectrum, is that it's not in the DSM-5 manual, which obviously we know the DSM-5 manual, the diagnostics medical manual that's produced in the United States, has everything, all these medical conditions, and if it's in the DSM-5 manual, then it's recognized as a medical condition. Now, PDA doesn't sit in there. And what's happened over the years is we've had all these children that have got traits of autism or ADHD or Asperger's or whatever they fall within that umbrella, but there has always been some significant symptoms or traits, not symptoms really, sort of traits and behavioral indications that they have a trait of autism, but something isn't quite right. They do not display commonly known traits. Like children with PDA generally will hit developmental milestones. They're verbal. They make eye contact, sort of the generic sort of markers that they measure autism on, they will hit those. But the challenge comes that normally when they are around in our experience and from other parents that I've spoken to, the challenges start to really get heightened or get demonstrated once they are at the back end of nursery, or sometimes even when they go into school, because the demands are very low. So when the demands are low, you may not see a behaviour or a characteristic that falls within the PDA sort of indication. And because there is obviously clearly something that isn't quite right, children with PDA follow an autistic diagnosis pathway because there's something there, but it's not quite right. And I always sort of explain it. There are some key characteristics that my son has that kind of do fall within autism, but they not the traditional traits that you would expect. And it's like getting a square block into a circle hole that it kind of fits, but it kind of doesn't. So these are one of the really big challenges that parents will have when they are thinking something's not quite right here. They can't self-regulate, they're losing control, and they just can't follow what a normal neurotypical child would be able to, the behaviors they'd be able to demonstrate.
So you mentioned previously about kind of that demands and, you asking, for use the example of putting on your shoes, and how that can be, they just can't, they get so dysregulated by that. How do you then get them to put on their shoes? How do you work with that?
It's really all about the way in which you speak to a child with PDA is everything, because it's that, can you do this? You must do that. Will you do it? That type of language, they instantly see as a threat, but you have to kind of reword stuff, or you need to do it for them a lot of the time until they can get to a point where they can access that themselves. When it's, one of the biggest challenges that we had for quite a long time was that the getting ready type situation. So we leave clothes out the night before now because it's like a non-verbal prompt then. Shoes, it's not for years, for quite a while, we'd use sort of like, I wonder if we can, let me see if you can. But now as he's getting older and he's getting more switched on, he can kind of see that language is becoming, it's ultimately going to result in a situation that is going to ultimately be seen as a type of threat, a demand. So it will be, come and sit at the bottom of the stairs, I'll get your shoes on for you. Come and get your uniform, it's here. Because sometimes when you skirt around the edges with it, they see that as a demand also. We're very much, when it comes to low demand, there's a lot of time, my son he's 7. There's a lot of time where we actually just do stuff for him, because even though people be like, oh, you're making the rod for your own back and blah, 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 blah. It makes it a lot easier. And the issue is when they get dysregulated and they go off the scale, like angry. Normally the behavior, the pattern of behavior that you see when they are dysregulated is disruptive. The majority of kids, we're quite lucky. He's an externalizing PDA, so you know exactly where you sort of stand with him. There's no masking as such. There's no hiding this, when he feels in a state like this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, our son, he's autistic ADHD. Yeah, and he his impulse control is very strong. So which can be leading to lots of things. But when he gets dysregulated, sometimes like you said, it is easier just to do the thing for them, because the long run, and
it's estimated on a child who's neurodivergent sort of has a dysregulated meltdown, that it actually takes them, a minimum of 90 minutes to get back to on an even keel. The danger of that is, the reality is you've got other things to do. So sometimes you need to move on quite quickly with, normal everyday tasks, going out to the car, getting another child from school, going to the supermarket. But it's really about picking your battles wisely. There's a lot of moving cogs in the complexities of what can constitute of the meltdowns coming. I think sleep, sleep, food, water. When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the basic needs that a human needs, the bottom of physiological, and if they're hungry, if they're tired, if they haven't eaten, if they haven't had anything to drink, this can all then start to build up. And then a simple, can you move up on the sofa so I can sit down, could be met with the remote control being thrown or getting kicked. So you have to really sort of judge it on the day. And what one thing that may work well one day generally may not work well the next day. So it's a constant evolving of trying to stay one step ahead of the game so you can get yourself out and get a life.
Yeah. It's the unpredictability I think I find.
Yeah, that's
what hard. Like you say,
we've always said that it's the what works one day where you think, oh my God, I've totally got this now. This is really going to work. And then all of a sudden, bang, it doesn't. And you're like, okay, well, I don't know where we're at now. Where do we navigate from here?
Yeah. And that's, you just explained my life. Like that is, and
you think, oh, this is going to work this time. So you maybe go on. So you maybe, for us, we've learned you learn in every day is a learning day, but you think, oh, we'll really push it. When their demand is really low and they are maybe that those basic physiological needs have been met and, they've had that quantity of sleep, they've eaten, there's sort of no argy-bargy or there's no sort of bickering with siblings. And you think, oh, maybe we can push to get out and go out for a day out. And then some days they'll just be, you get there and then they're so anxiety filled by what their expectation or what that is out of their control that they can't work out what they're actually going to be doing. We found that. And just so he is someone who likes to know the plan, so we go through the plan every day. We even when he's at school today, I woke up and told him the plan. We're having breakfast. We're going to school. Yeah.
I'm picking you up. Like that's like that's a normal day. And yet he was still like, so after school, and like he'll sometimes ask me about what happens in school and we kind of know roughly, but obviously they have a visual timetable there. But like after school, he was like, so what are we doing after school? And I was like, well, I have to go get my tooth pulled. So I was like, I'm going to have my tooth pulled. So I probably watch TV. Like we're probably going to just watch TV. And he was like, but what TV show? And I was like, Netflix. It was just this wanting to know.
Sometimes like divulging too much in advance can then lead to heightened anxiety because they start to then overthink and their anxiety levels take over because they can't quite work out if it's going to be going their way type situation. But I mean, we go through periods of time where you can say stuff quite far in advance. We're going on holiday in the summer, we're going on the aeroplane or whatever, and they're very okay. But it could be maybe, we're going to the park on Sunday, and then they'll start to get full of fear about going to the park. What if they fall over? And then all these sort of things start going through their mind, and you think, God, it's just so what you take for granted with a neurotypical child. It can be incredibly difficult to navigate just normal everyday life with a child that's got PDA.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
So you talk a lot about kind of bringing calm into the chaos. Mm-hmm. What is one hack? I always like to say hack, not tip, because
hack's a great one.
I don't know.
Hack's a great one.
What is one hack that you guys have found to bring that calm into your home and I think slightly quiet the chaos?
It's a massive mindset shift. as a parent to a PDA. And I always say to any parent, it's not that they won't do something, it's that they can't do something. And you have to reframe everything that you think, well, why can't, a perfect example, my PDA will quite happily sit on the sofa watching SpongeBob or whatever he's obsessed with that week. And the remote control will say fall off the sofa onto the floor and it's still within his arm's reach. He is quite capable of being able to just go like this and pick it up, but he won't because he can't, because it's a perception and an expectation that he'll lose his control. So he will shout, even no matter where I am in the house, Mum, can you pass me the remote control? And I'm a bit like, he's like, you are within arm's reach. Like literally, you can get this. And historically, we'd be like, no, get it yourself. And then all hell starts to break loose. So it's the fact that it's not that they won't do something, it's that they can't, because their internal anxiety is starting to build, and even doing something for themselves is giving them an expectation that they can't do it. So that was a massive mindset shift for us to start with. And it was really, really difficult. There's an element of like, why can't you just do it yourself?
Yeah. And how, is that something your whole house has adopted, or just kind of adults in the house?
My husband still struggles. We've got obviously our PDA is a twin, so he's obviously got a twin brother. So that can be a navigating nightmare, because why do I have to pick up my own drink and he doesn't? So you're constantly like, well, he's got PDA and you've got ADHD and you're hyperactive, so it's not an issue to you running around going. But our eldest son, he really struggles with the fact that, I think for ages, he really struggled with the fact that he didn't look autistic. And, the reality is, nobody looks autistic. And I think that's what he really, really struggled with. So dinner times can be really fraught in this house, because it's the end of the day. It's like an hour and a half before bed. And the entire day has been met with an expectation of a demand or a need in his eye. So the dinner table can be really, really stressful. So it's just about picking your battles wisely. And I say this to everybody, does it really matter if they have their dinner before everybody else? Do they have to sit at the table and have their dinner and conform to this normality of normal family life? Can they sit on the floor and have their dinner? Can they have the iPad on? Can the TV go on? All these things actually will make your life a lot easier, but it's that mindset shift as well. I was brought up like this and we sat around the table and had our dinner. Well, actually, that's your life. It's not relevant to us.
Yeah. Yeah, we've definitely changed up our dinners.
It's the end of the day, there's a lot been going on. People are tired and it can be quite chaotic. So we've kind of just shelved that a little bit.
Yeah, I was like, these aren't fun. This isn't even, this is not the point. The whole point is
being thrown around It then causes such dysregulation with our PDA. But then my older son, he starts getting really angry and sort of bats back. He gets away with everything. This is shit, and you're just trying to have your dinner.
Yeah, and you're just like, I get that. Yeah, it's literally one day I just remember sitting there and just thinking about, I love the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah,
and there's this episode, this scene where they're at Suki's house and Suki has kids and they're yelling, telling him Davey to turn the TV off. And Luke's just sitting there eating while kind of chaos is happening around him. And he's just kind of sitting there eating. And I was just like, this is chaos is just happening around me, but I'm just trying to eat my dinner,
Sometimes and so how tired they are when they get back from school, I'll just feed them before everybody else and just sort of keep some dinner back, because it can be quite, it's just the end of the day and it can be quite a push. Whereas when they're on holiday from school or the summer break or Christmas can be quite chaotic. We see quite a lot of dysregulation around December, just because A, it's Christmas, but B, there's quite a lot of stuff that goes on event-wise, calendar, there's Christmas parties, there's all this sort of stuff. So we've now adopted the fact that we're just going to go away every Christmas because it's just a lot easier. And the summer holidays are normally, apart from the odd tit for tat sibling argument, the summer holidays are actually quite calm because just going with the flow. There's no There's no sort of boundaries. There's no routine. You get up, you can do what you want, watch TV. There's no rushing to get out. So we find that those sort of, apart from when he was in burnout, we kind of find like holidays are actually quite a calm time for us in our house.
Yeah. That's, I was just thinking back about our Easter holiday was not what we planned. There was lots of things that happened. But yet, and I was like, no, I wasn't freaking out, but just, just when, as the person who's holding all the plans, I was like, oh, how is he going to react to this? And yet, like, because he didn't have all his demands, like you said, he could get up when he wanted, he could kind of go with the flow, like, although the plans kept switching.
He gets up at exactly the same time. He can just toss about on the sofa. He can have something to eat, he can have a snack. Get ready at lunchtime, can wear pajamas all day. Those little things, he finds it like his comfort zone.
Yeah. How can someone who, maybe it's a relative or a good friend support either an individual who's PDA or kind of a family who has someone who is?
I would say it's really about communicating and educating them because, I mean, like us, we'd never heard of PDA till about 4 years ago. So, and I'm pretty clued up. My mum was a senior pediatrics nurse. I know a lot about kids, and I've been brought up with parents that are both nurses. But it's about the educating, but also when it comes to dysregulation, unless they are absolutely sure, is to not butt their nose in, because we've had some quite events, things that have happened, like family events, and someone's making snarky comments that's then caused an ultimate dysregulation meltdown, which is then people chipping in saying, well, you should be more strict and you should have more to routine. And it's a bit, but it's about that educated. I mean, all of my husband and I's parents are all in their 70s. So there's an expectation that we're probably a little bit at fault, that we were our parents all live the other side of Oxford, so we don't see them regularly. And when they do see them, obviously there's an expectation that the kids do certain things, they do activities and they do this, that and the other, and they see cousins, but sometimes PDA children are just not capable of doing that. And actually, when everybody else is off doing things, there's been occasions where I've had to sort of say to like my mother-in-law or my aunties, he actually just doesn't want to do that. And the more that you are trying to push him in to do that, you are going to be going down that road of probably a catastrophic meltdown, which they're in their 70s. They're not going to be able to control. Whether or not, we're quite lucky. I say touch wood, I won't jinx myself, but we don't have much running off with our PDA. He's really risk adverse. He follows rules. And that's probably that autistic trait of his diagnosis. He follows rules. He's not risk adverse. But we've had it when he's been probably twice, where when he's got really dysregulated and he's felt threatened, he has actually done a runner. And it wouldn't be fair to put them in that situation. So it's just about for them to pick their battles wisely. And if the child is saying, I don't want to do this, the pushing and forcing just to get them to do it because you want them to do it. Sometimes you just have to just admit that this isn't going to work today, and you've just got to sack everything off.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, like you said, kind of that idea of even just, I think about like my parents or my in-laws, like there's just a different level of expectation.
I think it's a generational thing as well.
Yeah. And
it's like, well, you're here at our house and I'm Nanny and Grampy and you need to do this. And actually, my children all went to my in-laws for about 4 or 5 days. Was it the Easter? Oh, I can't remember. But I got a text message from my mother-in-law saying, oh, he's refusing to do this. And I said, you know what? If I were you, if you can get my father-in-law, if you can get Grampy to just stay at home with him today, just let him play on his iPad, because I think if you're going to continue to push him, you're going to get quite nasty behavior. And they take the nasty behavior, like the name calling, the swearing, the kicking, the punching. They take it personally. They think it's that they've got a choice in the matter. And I think they've really struggled. And I've just sort of said, I think just shelve it today with him. Just if he wants to stay at home with Grampy, just let him and sack off like a busy, sweaty soft play. If he is articulated enough to tell you that he doesn't want to go, then don't take him.
Yeah, that's a really good point about like that idea that, when they are dysregulated, when they are having a meltdown, it's not it's not their control. Like
exactly.
it's, it's not personal. It's like
hide. That's how I always think of it. It's like to hide. They can't avoid it.
Yeah. And that's a really good, even for myself, when meltdowns happen, just remembering like, this is just
not
happening.
And I think sometimes I work quite a lot of weekends in my job. And I think that one of the issues that my husband struggles with is he wants to get out and do all this stuff with the kids. But on a Saturday, sometimes they're exhausted. Well, he's exhausted. His twin brother's exhausted. And they just don't want to do anything. They're just tired. I have days where I just want to sit on the sofa and watch crap TV and watch, Real Housewives of New York or whatever. And I want to watch. That's my decompression, is the fact that I just can sit on the sofa and do whatever I want. So obviously to have an unreal expectation that why would a child not want to do that? And then it'll be they'll get dragged to the park or they'll go somewhere and then all hell breaks loose. And I'm a bit, well, I told you so. Live and learn the hard way, husband.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I think comes with experience with a child at PDA. I think you're always constantly having to be one step ahead of the game.
Yeah, I always say our weekends are to recover for the week.
Yeah, totally.
And if we do something great, but like my plan making is often the Friday afternoon when I know what my child is.
I mean, I'm off for 6 days now. And my husband even said to me last night, what are we going to do at the weekend? Said, there's no point super planning to do anything until we can gauge Saturday morning. Like, let's see how the week goes to school. That, my son's got a school trip this week, tomorrow, in fact. So, he won't be stressed out about that, but that's also quite a big thing. And there's all these spinning cogs almost that you've got to kind of make sure are aligned, because if they're not, you end up with all hell breaking loose.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I love to end the podcast with this question. And so my question is, what do you want the world to know about neurodiverse people, particularly those who are PDA?
I think it's to believe the parents. There's a lot of media circulation that it's a choice, that it's something that they choose, but also to believe the parents, because the parents are the ones who live and breathe it every single day. And what you might get is an education setting or family members or a college setting, or that they actually are very, very good at masking. So their behavior may be absolutely fine at school. And then you've got parents on there, that are literally in despair. And they're saying to their school or, this is not what they're like. And it's that belief, and that just, it adds something else to the stress of the parents. That would be my top thing. But also and I said this earlier, it's not that they won't do something, it's that they can't do it. So just cut them a bit of slack.
Yeah. That's a good point about just, again, reiterating that they can't do it. It's not a choice. They're in, I think about when I'm in fight or flight mode, I'm stuck, I'm frozen.
That's how everybody's body reacts normally. That, the cortical drains, and that's your reaction. But for us as a neurotypical, well, not that I'm neurotypical, so I've got ADHD, but it is more, I can regulate. Well, for us, we would go into fight, flight, or freeze. And I always use this analogy. When I was on the motorway once, and I went round a corner to come off the motorway to join another motorway, and the cars were all suddenly stopped, and I was doing about 60 miles an hour. And you suddenly see your life flash before you, and then that reaction, I was literally frozen. But I can get myself out of this because I can regulate my own nervous system, but kids can't, because A, they're children, and B, they have a heightened sense of anxiety when they've got PDA.
Yeah, that's really true. Well, thank you, Jessie, for being with us and having this conversation. I've learned so much already. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Something that I am carrying away from this episode is Jessie's reminder is not that they won't, it's that they can't. That simple shift changes the way we see and respond to our kids. Today's vocab moment is dysregulation, a state when the brain and body become overwhelmed and lose the ability to manage emotions or behavior. If you're raising or supporting neurodiverse kids, you'll probably hear this term a lot. And hey, friend, if this episode resonated with you, or you know someone who might really need to hear it, share the link with them and let them know why you thought of them. Thanks for being part of the conversation today. I'll see you next week. Go out there and continue the conversation.